that I'm thinking is like, what are you gonna do with that information? Like, why? It's like genuine just curiosity. Like, oh yeah, I'll tell you.
Survey or what?
It's like, am I gonna put in this box here now? Or...
In like certain ways, definitely. Like you were saying, someone was like, oh my God, your skin's so dark. Like I never would have thought. Like it's like in your mind, you're like, okay, well, I don't know like what to tell you about that. Like this is just me. But like to some other people, like in their minds, like maybe not so much on purpose, but because it's what they're used to seeing, like they typically like put this one group in a box as looking this way. So when they meet somebody who kind of like might be outside the box, like it's just like different. So they don't necessarily like put two and two together.
I think that's maybe just part of the culture or something, because it's not that, like somehow said, that we were told to think like that we were taught this in school. It's just it's there. And what I also want to say to the media thing, I think there are, especially in social media, also many jokes about stereotypes, and I think they are. I mean, no one is saying something about it. No one is saying something against it. They are kind of accepted. I mean, as long as they are not really racist or something. And I think as long as we have those jokes and we are joking about different like nationalities or ethnicities, I think it wouldn't stop that people are stereotyped. And I think that's a big point in this discussion about it.
I don't know. For me, like I just say like American because yeah, like my dad is full Japanese, but he grew up in Peru. He was born in Peru because Japanese came down there and then they got stuck. I don't know, some kind of big thing for several generations. But I mean, like he came to America because he liked it, a little bit, not better, but I mean, he decided to settle. It was his decision. My grandma's from Mexico, and she decided to come up here. So, like, when everyone settled here, they all kind of decided that this is the place that they want to spend their whole life. So, and then they had me here. I was spent, my whole childhood here. So it's just American, at least. But I mean, it's hard to say because you have like race, you have ethnicity, and then you have like the cultures that participate. 'Cause, like for my family, I have like 6 uncles and aunts on one side, and then 3 on the other, and they all married other people. Like so, I have half Greek cousins, and then I have half Brazilian cousins, and so like I grew up like eating feijoada or like gyros or whatever, and so there's a lot of cultural elements that come into play that have nothing to do with my race.
Yeah, most definitely. There's no right or wrong answer on this one.
Yeah.
Seems like it depends on what you're asking.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, if you ask like, what nationality are you? You obviously say American. Versus like, what race are you? I'd say I'm white or Caucasian. So, I think
What do you think to be the right way to approach someone and ask them?
Where do you hail from? I don't know.
Growing up, pretty much everyone I went to, elementary school, middle school, high school, was like predominantly white. And it kind of just brought back when you said like, when people just come up to you and ask you and you like don't even know who they are and they're just like, what are you? And then you're like, well, I don't know, like why you even want to know. I remember just like I got more used to it obviously, but whenever people would ask that, I would always be kind of nervous for some reason to tell them. And I think I've like reflected on it more now, especially like why was I so nervous? And I think it's just because obviously they want to know because they know you're different. And so I think that when I would like tell people, oh, I'm Asian, and they would say like, oh, what kind of Asian? Or like say you're Japanese. I think it was always kind of like in the back of my head being scared that they would like judge me because I know that they have like preconceived notions, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad. So I really like how you said though that you can definitely tell when people are interested and they want to know more about your culture and like the background part of it versus because I've had both sides. I've had when people ask and then they crack a joke and then that's it. But I've also had people who are like, oh, that's super cool. Like, where'd your parents grow up and like stuff like that. So you can definitely tell. And I think it means a lot when people are like genuinely interested. It's like uncomfortable to think about it, just like walk up to someone and be like, what are you? Because I've never really done that or in that way, but yeah.
Does anybody feel offended if someone came up to you and asked you what your origins are? Would you be like, if someone is like straight up random, super not good context, someone walks up to you on the street and goes like, what's your background? Would you be offended or would you find it kind of like an opportunity to kind of be like, oh, this is where I'm from, this is what I'm about?
Honestly, like the way that you phrase it, saying what's your background, I think is so much. I don't know why. Like well, I would be so much more willing to tell you that versus if someone came up to me and said, "What are you?"
Well, that's just.
I think that's so different. So if someone were to come up to me and say, "What's your background?" I think I would take that as a lot more like open and like willing to learn about like my culture versus if someone came up and was like, "What are you?"
I think anyone who says "What are you?" is kind of an idiot because it's like it's a pretty open-ended question, you know. It's like, "What are you?" Well, I'm here right now, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sitting. Like, what are you? Yeah. So it's like if someone asks you what your background is, like if someone asks me, like I said, no one's ever asked me, I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Like, let me tell you where my family came from, you know? But no one asks stuff.
Do you wish that more people would ask?
Well, since we're talking about it and it comes up, yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I like to ask my roommates. Like, I like last names. I think last names are interesting. So if I hear a last name, I like to be like, oh, like, what is that? You know, my last name's Carpenter. Anybody know where that is? No, it's French. Yeah, so you don't know. So it's like last names are, I think they're really important. So I don't know. No.
I think people do, but I think there are different ways to do that, and one is not nice, like asking what are you, and there are also other ways to do that if you want to label a person. I think everyone's labeling. I don't think that this is something that's especially like here in America or something. I think it's just a human thing.
Yeah, I think going off that, that's a great point. I think like subconsciously, like innately, we just characterize people or like just things in general, just to get like a better idea of kind of like our world as we see it. But yeah, definitely, I think the biggest thing is to all come back to like context. Like there's a way to ask things and there's a way to kind of like approach certain conversations. So yeah, like everyone's saying, like if you were to come to someone and just ask, like, what are you? And like you come off kind of abruptly, you're going to be like, whoa, dude, like, what? But if like, you come in with like general interest and just kind of back it up with like questions, stuff like that, I think that makes it a lot easier to have an open conversation as opposed to just like abrupt force of like, what do you want with this information? Like what are you doing? So yeah.
And I think it's also important to like use what we like learn in here and like applying it to myself. Like I realized just talking just now, like I've never asked any of my white friends where they're from. It's like that's not anything that I've ever thought of before. And like now thinking about it, it's something that you're able to like reflect on and like going forward, being able to like think about that when you're meeting new people. And even like the conversation that happened in Mandarin, it's a perspective that I never really thought about before. And listening to what they had to say, it's kind of like, oh, they're actually people that have feelings, you know. It's like sometimes you forget about that, and it's really like these kinds of conversations really help to like make people think about those kinds of things.
Yeah, like every person you walk past in the day, like every person's face you see, they have something to say about this, and like they have an opinion, they have a story, they have something they're passionate about. It's like everything. Yeah, you don't know anything about a person really until you get down and sit with them and like, this is awesome, like I love this is cool. So I think there's like a lot of value in doing stuff like this, and it should happen more often.